Meeting back to order. Mr. City Attorney, could you give us a report from closed session?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Direction was given to staff at a closed session. There's no reportable action tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Tins, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sir, please stand. Salute. Pledge.
Welcome to the City Council chambers. Just a couple of cleanup items. If you need to leave the room for some reason, there's an exit door there that takes you directly outside. And of course, you came in the door that you came in, and if you need to use the restroom, it's down the hallway. If we do need to leave the building, we'd like to all to assemble out in the parking lot. And if that be the case, then Chief Wines, our police chief, will be the last one out of the building. With that being said, we'd like to move for adoption of agenda.
So moved.
No second. Roll, please. Which one's working? That one? Yeah, that one's working. Okay, there you go.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Next item is presentation and proclamation. Looks like we have the Butte County Fire Safety Council will present information on the Firewise communities. Welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, at the council's request, we have two representatives from the Butte County Fire Safe Council to provide and share some information on Firewise communities. And we have Jim and Lauren, and I'll let them take over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, council members. It's a privilege and honor to be here. We're going to run through, there's a lot of slides, I know, but we're going to run through it really quick. You probably saw all the slides and like, oh my goodness. Anyway, I worked for the Fire Safe Council for about 6 years now. Before that, I worked for the City of Chico Fire for 30 years. So doing the fire stuff is kind of what I enjoy. And so I like going out and helping the public. And I think this is going to work here.
Just so you know, we're watching the program. We're
I
below you.
know, but
okay. Yeah, point it over.
There we go.
There you go.
So the Fire Safe Council has been around for about 27 years now. It's a 501c3, and we've been doing work all throughout Butte County, everywhere from Cohasset to Clipper Mills and everywhere in between. Our mission, we added recovery after the campfire. So it was kind of more of what we're doing as well, but we're helping landowners recover after fires. Now we've had all these other devastating fires, so we're getting pretty good at it, unfortunately. Our slide got turned there. Anyway, we have a lot of different programs that we do. Our chipper program is our flagship program. If landowners that live in the WUI stack their material a certain way, we come and chip it for free back on site. But we do a lot of other things. Defensible Space runs people's homes, hazardous tree removal. We're doing logging operation, grazing. Grazing festivals coming up. Lauren will talk about that, but we also help with Firewise communities and fire safe councils. We do a lot of education outreach, just different schools. We go with the fire department to schools. We have different community functions that we help with, and all to promote fire safety and Firewise communities. So our chipper program, like I said, we do quite a lot of sites. We've done 46 in City of Oroville. We also do residence assistance programs to help the landowners, elderly, disabled, low income. We do a lot of that. We have multiple grants to help out landowners to do that. And so once we're contacted, we get them into our system, and then we can go out and help them. Again, hazard tree removal, we're working with the town of Paradise right now for their FEMA hazard mitigation grant to remove Category 4 trees. It's been a long, painful process, but we're getting it done. I think we're very, very close now. We've have contracts in place. We're waiting for the FEMA to get the rest of their SHPO paperwork done, and we're ready to go. We're also doing work in the Camp North complex footprints, the same type of thing with hazardous tree removal. Grazing festival's coming up June 1st. Come on out. It's a great event up in Paradise. And we also do grazing goat ownership workshops. So the goats look great until you go and see all the different things you need to do to take care of goats, and then it educates people. But it does also get people to know who the Fire Safe Council is and do other things. And there's been some success stories of not necessarily grazing, but other things that have come from the grazing workshops. Again, we've been around for over 25 years. This is some of the stats that we've done. We did about 3,500 acres of fuel reduction last year. Our goal is over 6,000 this year. So we're definitely ramping up. When I started the Fire Safe Council 6 years ago, I was the 5th employee. We have over 35 staff now. So we're have definitely ramped up, and we're doing a lot of things. You might have seen on the news the other day, we had a prescribed burn for Paradise Unified School District on about 60 acres right in the middle of Magalia. Very, very successful. The map I show here is all the different fire history that we've had in Butte County since 2000. You know, there's not very much green area left there. But if you look in the Park Fire footprint, the teardrop, upside teardrop at the top, there's a little red section in the middle. And on the map on the right is the green island that's in Cohasset. And all the different other color pieces there are things that we've done. The orange and the yellow there are fuel reduction projects that we've done that either have mastication or hand cut and chip or biomass removal. There's been some prescribed fire in there. All the different tools in the toolbox that we use, we've done, including our chipper program. There's some areas in there that aren't necessarily in that green island, but they had the chipper program where the landowner actually did work around their home and help protect their home. One of the successes of this is that there were no fatalities in the Park Fire. Which I think with one way in and one way out is a huge success. And there's actually a community for people to go back to. There's a school, a site, there's a community center, there's a church, there's a store, there's infrastructure there. People were able to get back and move into the property. So that is a big win. When you have about a 700-acre island in the middle of a 250,000-acre fire, it's kind of a win there. Some of the fuel reduction work that happened along Highway 32, you can see the difference there. A lot of people in Forest Ranch were upset that they did thinning along Highway 32, but it was a major stopping point of the fire, and you can see the dramatic effect of those types of treatments. Another view, there's a couple homes in that little section right there that did burn, but they were able to hold the fire on that area. This is Maple Creek Ranch. This is in Cohasset. This is part of that green island that you see behind them. This is a large landowner. They own 500 acres in the middle of the community. We helped do a lot of work there, and it was a major reason why the community survived. Pretty devastating up there right now. This is a map of part of Oroville here, and you can see anything of color up there is projects that we have either implemented or are getting ready to implement. You can see up below the lake there that there's a big project there on PG&E property and DWR property that we're getting ready to do. There's a little turquoise area right in kind of the middle, that's Ishii School, and we did grazing there 2 years ago. So we are doing some work here. It's just, have to have some larger landowners to do it, but we have done other education pieces too. If you look at this map, and then if you notice this map, you can see we're working in the areas that have been burned. I'll go back there. You can see Lake Wyandotte up there and the project up there. We're helping CAL FIRE do some fuel reduction work up there. But all the red is area that have burned. The North Complex on the top are doing work up there as well. So we are trying to put our fuel reduction projects to buffer the city of Oroville. But it's a lot of work, and we're getting it done. Lauren, I'll let Lauren go now. She's going to talk about fire safe councils and fire-wise communities.
Welcome, Lauren.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you. Hello, council members. Thank you for having us tonight. I was here about 2 years ago to talk to you about Firewise Communities, and since then, the program has grown tremendously, and I've been able to help around 25 communities through the application process. So that's one of the things I'd like to highlight tonight of kind of the updates to that program and where we see it going from here, as well as Oroville could move to form a fire safe council. So currently in Butte County, we have 7 local fire safe councils, Cohasset, Forest Ranch, Paradise Ridge, all the way down to Yankee Hill, who is a independent fire safe council in that they are their own nonprofit and have their own staff. But we support all of those other local fire safe councils with their activities. Now, additionally, there's 36 Firewise communities across Butte County, but those are independently run, though we help them support. And so kind of the difference between these two areas, and we do have some places in Butte County that are both Fire Safe Council and FireWise communities. So a Fire Safe Council has a 2-year agreement with the Butte County Fire Safe Council. It's typically a larger area or a whole community, and we can help support financially as well as cover their volunteer liability for their events and projects. And resident engagement and match hour collection is encouraged. Now, over on the FireWise community, this is a national program, and they do have standards for how many match hours you need to contribute, and also some restrictions on the size of the communities. So for those, a FireWise community can be as small as 8 and as large as 2,500, and all of their activities are technically independent from us, so we don't help cover finances or their volunteer liability coverage. So this is a map showing our current fire safe councils in Butte County. And as you can see, there's a gap in the map around the Orville area. There hasn't been a active fire safe council in, I believe, about 5 or 6 years. So this would be, in addition to FireWise communities, my suggestion of a really good starting place to form one or multiple fire safe councils around the city or the Orville foothills. And so the steps to do that would be setting up a meeting with us and our leadership team, reviewing that MOU and going over what it actually means to be a fire safe council, finding that main leader to sign, and then the committee to support, which can be made up of residents or anyone engaged on the council, and then signing that agreement and having it approved by our Fire Safe Council Board of Directors. And so some of those responsibilities of being a fire safe council are things that are already happening anyway or are part of the planning. So tracking time to help support volunteer activities and match funds, participating in the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, hosting regular meetings that are open to the public, and then helping recruit and promote volunteer activities for fire safe risk reduction. Some of those benefits of being a local fire safe council is having a voting member on our board that would be approved upon election. Every year, 10% of the donations that we receive gets evenly distributed to the local fire safe councils. So that can help cover projects, food for meetings, anything that they want to do for their project. And so Orville Fire Safe Council would be part of that. The optional volunteer liability coverage if there's a volunteer event hosted, optional financial sponsorship, and it helps us also when we write grants to list those local fire safe councils and have them eligible for the opportunities within that grant. So that's the Fire Safe Council. FireWise, this is a national program under the National Fire Protection Association. In California, CAL FIRE has taken over the reviewing and approving of communities for the past year or so. And we still help support local communities, helping them form and then helping support those leaders with activities once they're certified. And the goal is to reduce risk on private property and protect whole neighborhoods at the community level. So currently, like I said, we have 36 in good standing communities in Butte County. We've had a lot of growth in the past year, especially around Paradise. In the Orville area, we have 2 certified communities, one in Kelly Ridge, one around Lake Wyandotte, and we have 4 in progress communities. So this one here, downtown Orville, we're working with a local resident who joined us tonight, Brian Williams, to certify what would cover Riverbend Park, part of downtown, and the river and levee. And so we are at the next stage of this of needing to do the risk assessment, which to form a FireWise community, this is kind of the basic steps of how to get approved. You make your map. We do a drive around risk assessment to look at some of the standout hazards or suggestions for improved fire safety. We help them come up with an action plan, submit it online, and then you upload any time or money spent within the past year that has already been done for fire risk reduction. And you do need to hold 1 outreach event. So the size can be as small as 8 up to 2,500, and based on how big the community is, that is how much match is required to be submitted, and it is 1 hour per year per home. So if you have 20 homes, you need to submit at least 20 hours of match for the combined group, which is very, very achievable. We hope and expect everyone to do far more than that, but it's a pretty easy bar to get started. For this risk assessment, we just drive through the neighborhood. We don't go into anyone's backyard or collect data on personal individual properties. It's just a snapshot of the entire group. And we do work with CAL FIRE on this with their defensible space inspection team. They can help share some of the results for what their inspectors have already gathered for communities. For the action plan, this is a 3-year plan, and you have to have at least 3 goals for each of these categories, working towards fire safety through education and outreach, home hardening, fuels reduction, and defensible space, and then evacuation planning and preparedness. So we can help leaders come up with some of the ideas to fit those categories. And once the application is approved, the leader is sent a certificate that goes on our website. This is also what insurance companies will be looking for to give the FireWise USA discount on home insurance. And every year when the leader recertifies their community, there's a new certificate that gets uploaded. And so to maintain that in good standing, like I said, it's 1 hour per house per year. And things that can count is work on individual property, common areas, and as well as money spent. So some common things that most people are already doing anyway: cleaning off your roof and gutter, mowing your lawn, any fuels reduction, as well as time spent going to meetings or activities. So if you go to the Paradise Grazing Festival, that would count, as well as if you hire contractors to do any of that work for you. So quite a lot is already being done, and FireWise just gives a place to track it. And then the double benefit is that all of this also counts for our match at the Butte County Fire Safe Council to be able to continue to support the grants that we already have. And whoever that leader is, we hope that they're supported by at least a couple other people to maintain the community. And every 5 years, you do a new risk assessment. Every 3 years, a new action plan. And every year, you resubmit your hours and money spent. So some of the benefits, the big driver of why so many FireWise communities have been popping up, partly has been due to the discount on home insurance, which is one of the things that people can do with just the increasing prices is form a FireWise community. Also, it improves collective safety, gives people a way to meet their neighbors, and identifies some common goals, and really motivates people to work together. So a couple questions that often come up: is participation mandatory, and does everyone need to participate? And the answer is no. In your boundary, there may be people that don't participate, but the hours and the community is a collection of the whole, so no one would get dropped from the program if they had neighbors that don't want to participate. They're still technically in the boundary, and that's pretty common in every community. Will the community get rejected if the risk is too high? No. If you just correctly fill out the paperwork and submit it, it doesn't matter how high the fire risk is or what hazards are found, a community won't be rejected from the program. So you don't have to have a perfectly fire safe neighborhood to get this certificate, essentially. It's a good starting point. And then on the individual level, if we're thinking about fire preparedness kind of as a bullseye of the Fire Safe Council as the whole community, and within that, we have multiple FireWise communities. For individual homeowners, they can get this certificate, the Wildfire Prepared Home, which is a program of IBHS. There's an online application, and there is quite a strict checklist of what they're looking for to be able to get this. But this is also something that some insurance companies are looking at, either for a discount or a condition of keeping people on their policy. This is an example. One of the main features that is a black and white issue for the Wildfire Prepared Home is the 0 to 5 foot non-combustible zone. So in order to be certified for this, you do have to have a completely cleared 5 feet of space. There is an application fee, and then also every 3 years there's a recertification. This program isn't run through the Fire Safe Council, but it's something that we can share with FireWise communities as an option if individuals would like to do more for their home. And then also working with the California Department of Insurance to share information and resources. Part of the sustainable insurance strategy is trying to have less homeowners on the FAIR plan and open up more traditional insurance and encourage people to apply for wildfire preparedness discounts that they are eligible for. People can file a complaint online, and also it helps protect policyholders from being dropped after wildfires and non-renewed. We do have a local representative, Lisa Strange, so she's presented at our meetings and up in Paradise, and is also a great contact to reach out to with questions. This is part of their model, like the bullseye, protecting their home with the home hardening, the defensible space, and then the community as a whole. There's also an event coming up in Paradise that I'd like to invite you to. This is put on by the Rebuild Paradise Foundation. It's called Roadmap to Insurability, and there'll be presenters, one I believe from Mercury Insurance, as well as some local fire experts, showing what has been successful in Paradise for actions people have taken to be able to get and keep their insurance. So I can send this out after the fact if you'd like. And so some recommendations, I think a first easy step of forming an Oroville Fire Safe Council wherever those boundaries are, engaging with the residents that really want to be involved and steering them to the Butte County Fire Safe Council so I can help them through the FireWise process, supporting Brian and I as we go through forming this downtown Oroville FireWise community, maybe attending or promoting one of our first outreach events. And then for additional FireWise communities, maybe looking at those zones, could be by evacuation zone, that have a higher risk and might be more on the edge of town in the rural areas, would be my thoughts. Any questions I can answer?
Councilman Johnston's in the queue.
Thank you. I think one of your slides actually answered the question, in that a lot of our surrounding Oroville area did have their insurances canceled or non-renewals. And so being a part of the Fire Safe Council would keep that from happening.
Not necessarily. Being in a FireWise community would give a discount if they were to be, say, on the California Fair Plan, but being in a FireWise community or a Fire Safe Council will not necessarily stop you from being dropped, unfortunately.
That was what I was
Yeah.
worried about.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
We have not found the solution to that yet.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I might add to that question. I don't see anybody else in the queue. What other insurance stories do you have that might share with us? In other words, obviously that's the impetus for the issue right now, because the fire insurance non-renewals is hitting this community very hard, very hard. I don't know anyone that isn't dealing with it, but what kind of stories have you seen in the Butte County area, just to share with us?
We have seen a success story in Paradise of Mercury Insurance deciding to come back and insure. So Jen Goodland, the director of Rebuild Paradise Foundation, invited them to come up and tour the town. And after seeing what had been done and learning about kind of the rebuilding effort and emphasis on fire safety, they decided to start writing policies again. So they are actively writing in Paradise. In Paradise also, every new home built is built up to that wildfire prepared home standard. I have heard of people getting that certificate and being kept on their policies, but I've heard more difficult stories than success stories at this point.
I appreciate that, and
Yeah.
I appreciate your candor there.
Yeah.
Councilman Johnstone.
I think Janet.
Oh, Janet, you up? Go ahead. Oh, there it is, yeah.
I appreciate Brian is always proactive. So here's my question. In the event that there's like the downtown district, getting the word out, mailers, literature, let's say the rental of a venue for town hall, are there any monies available for that? For those type of activities, and to
Yes.
continue that line of communication
Yes.
with literature going out on a routine basis.
Yes, so we have started putting FireWise USA into every grant that we write, and so the community education is built into everything we do. So looking at the grants that support the South County of where we could tie in to have funding for exactly some things you just mentioned, mailers, rental of facilities. We have a pending application through the California Fire Safe Council that very strongly supports Firewise, and if we get that, would use that to continue supporting Orville.
Okay, thank you.
Becca? Okay.
Thank you. I had meant to mention too, so you might have addressed this, and I'm sorry if I missed it, but you said that it does offer discounts with the FAIR plan. How about private?
Yes, it ranges. If your policy covers fire, there is a guaranteed discount under the Safer from Wildfires program with Department of Insurance, but that discount can vary. There's not a set standard, and so you do hear cases of, I got the Firewise certificate and I only got $10 off. But that discount range, what I've heard, is from 2 to 10%, and the 10% discount is on the California FAIR plan.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Thompson?
Yeah, thank you. So for us here and those listening online, if a neighborhood or somebody on the dais want to start there in the community, who do they contact?
You can call our office or email us, and I will reach out to you to set up a meeting, and we could talk about where you live and your interest. And
Where's that contact information?
it is on our website, buttefiresafe.net, or you can email us ready@buttefiresafe.net.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? Questions? I have one question. If the city were to entertain and say, join the Firewise, because we have a pretty aggressive weed abatement program, and we have goats. So essentially, that effort would be recognizable and be part of that activity we're doing already. So I don't know if any cities have joined in that case, or,
I reached out about this very recently because as we started forming our community that included Riverbend Park and all of the fuels reduction there and the grazing, basically the fuels reduction would count. It would be noted as fuels reduction, but
Right.
the money spent would not count because it's coming from the city, not from the individual homeowners that
Okay,
live
okay.
in the community. However, if it was, say, an HOA and people are paying dues that go to support fuels reduction, then it would count.
yeah. I just like the idea that if we had the Firewise designation and you saw that area being handled by the goats, it might be a nice incentive for the insurance companies, as you mentioned, Mercury, to see that that work's being done.
Yeah.
And credited, because our weed abatement program is pretty aggressive, and we have a drop dead date of June 15th. And it's been very successful in the past, but I just look at that as a positive to add to the process,
Absolutely.
you know, just to say, hey, you know, this is, we'd be part of that mapping that you show.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. Forming Firewise, 90% of the work is being done. It's just showing it and documenting and then finding what is that new 10% and how do we engage people in that effort.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? Do we have any cards on this
Okay.
side?
Thank you, everyone.
None submitted.
Okay. Thank you very much, very good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lauren. So, recommendation tonight to council would be to direct staff to solidify terms of an MOU to become our own fire safe council under the Butte. So I'm not sure how who we'd want to delegate that to, but I'm sure we could talk behind scenes, but at least we could start drafting an MOU and bring that back and create our own fire safe council.
Personally, I think we've already got a lot going for us already, and to be part of the process would be a benefit to let the insurance companies know that we are in fact doing this. Otherwise, they wouldn't know we're doing it. You know, that's part of the problem is getting that word out, and obviously the insurance companies have good merit with Firewise, so I think it's a valuable activity and certainly could be a positive asset.
Mercury Insurance has been great too, just to go on the record with that. I've worked with them several times.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Sounds good.
You
Yes,
wanna
please.
By consensus,
That's
or
it.
we want to?
Yes, please.
Yes,
Yes.
okay, by consensus, staff move forward.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. And Firewise, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Next item we have is public communication, hearing of any non-agenda items. Heather, do we have any cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have one speaker card for public comment. Bill Spear.
Welcome, Bill.
verse of the day is Psalms 42:11. Why, my soul, are you downcast? Why so disturbed within me? Put your hope in God, for I will yet praise him, my Savior and my God. I'd like to pray for our city. Thank you for our fire department and the Firewise Council. Thank you for all the work they're doing in our county, in our city. And we, as we go into fire season, we pray that you would give us that supernatural protection, supernatural provision. We pray for all our first responders, for our police, for all the city staff. We pray your blessings upon our city council. Thank you for them, their time away from their families. We pray for supernatural provision and protection for them. We continue to lift up the rescue mission and be thankful for them, grateful for them for the Hope Center and all the work they do. All of the service groups, we lift up the Feather Fiesta Days and we pray for a protected event, for a fun time for people to get out and enjoy the blessings that you have given us in our beautiful city. We pray for an activation of the church. We pray for your grace and mercy to overflow. We love you. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Any other cards?
No other cards, thank you.
Okay. Next item would be then we'll move to the council announcements and reports. Council, any announcements or reports for tonight? Councilman Goodson's up.
Yes, I just. Can you do that for no?
Which one do you want to work, this one or that one?
No, this one's mine, thank you. And I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Alyssa and your team, Public Works, Code Enforcement. We did have a South Side cleanup on April 26th. We had a lot of volunteers. I just want to give praise to the AAFCC, African American Family and Cultural Center, who partnered with the city of Oroville to do this cleanup. And the cleanup was, it was housed around those that were disabled in the community and are elderly that just needed yard work, some debris that might have been collected in their front yards. And so we were able to do that. I do not have the stats on the volume or the weight, but I know that there were 5 40-yard dumpsters that were dropped, thank you, Recology, at a location on the Father's House property. Those were full. And so we had a lot of community volunteers, Public Works, the Hope Center, Jordan's Crossing. So thank you. We appreciate the work that was done. The community thanks you. And we're hoping to do it again sometime, perhaps every quarter. It just depends. So we will have that debriefing meeting probably within the next month or so.
Yes, I'll relay the word thank you, and Pat as well. I believe he will have those statistics for you when he returns.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Looking around the room. Oh, go ahead, Eric.
I think it's already been mentioned, Feather Fiesta Days this weekend. And in the spirit of the previous presentation, CAL FIRE, we have, I think, 8 participating stations from around about the North State for the chili cook-off. Firefighters in just friendly competition. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Funds raised are going to go toward the updating of the trailer, what do you call that? The smokehouse. But not to be confused with smoking meats or little children. This is to teach children how to respond in case they find themselves in that kind of a predicament in a burning building. And so I think it's a worthy endeavor, and the smokehouse needs a little help, a little love. And so, but it's going to be a great day. Of course, we'll have a parade and plenty of vendors and old cars downtown. So come on out and enjoy yourself. Thank you. Yes, and the craft fair at the lot home. Thank you. Yeah, so there'll be all kinds of just great things happening up and down Montgomery Street.
All right. Anybody else? All right, we'll go to oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to announce that after many years of both the previous council and this council working diligently, and the city staff working very hard on the Hewitt Park project, that we're going to have a groundbreaking ceremony on the 13th, which is Tuesday, next Tuesday, at 2 p.m. So I think that's going to be really great to see that project moving forward, and I want to applaud the city staff and Alyssa in particular and your efforts to get that done. Thank you. And then also Monday, the 12th, the Orville Community Development Coalition meeting, which is at 5:30 p.m. at the Southside Community Center, is going to have Chief Wines is going to be our guest speaker, going to come and do a presentation, and we're looking forward to what you're going to present, sir. So we appreciate your efforts in the community. We see you, and looking forward to even more of what you got in store for her. So those are two announcements that I have.
We'll move to staff reports.
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I have just a couple quick updates. There's been work with the discussions internally with the staff, just to keep the council informed on some work on the levy with regards to just, there's been reports of a lot of parking and illegal camping going on, so we've done some discussions about putting some boulders or something up there to discourage that, as well as adding signage about our camping ordinance, so that'll be coming in here in the near future. One other thing, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has partnered. The city's received some funding for assistance from them to look at and assess our levy. So they're gonna be here tomorrow and all day on Thursday as well. So if you see folks walking around throughout town, it's the Army Corps of Engineers and a few other staff. So certainly we'll report back to the council on anything that they discover. So that's all I have.
Something else I was going to mention. I can't think of what it was. How about the rest of the department heads? Chief?
Got a few things here. First on, just kind of a staffing update of the sworn. We have 31 authorized. We're currently at 22. As of Monday, we're going to have a new lieutenant come in there, and we have another in background so that we could fill our BINTIF position, so we'll be moving to 24 shortly. We have 7 of 9 dispatchers positions filled. We currently have 4 in the testing process. We're hoping we can get 2 out of that. The MLEs, we have currently 9. We have 13 total authorized, and we have 4 in background for those positions that are very strong candidates. And we just recently opened up for the additional records position that the council authorized last meeting. So we're looking pretty well. As far as activity to date, at the end of April, we have serviced over 13,500 calls for service. So as you can see, we're very busy. Again, those numbers can continue to be about, per capita, about 65% more active than even Chico Police. So very busy police department. The troops are doing great. And so I think that's about it. The strike team continues to be working very hard. They've got another home invasion that they have wrapping up and got to warrant. So very proud of them. In addition, I've told you I would be all very transparent, so here's where it comes in. We got the strike team. The whole part of it is for the community. So I'm about to give an email address that goes directly to the strike team. I'm going to put a caveat to that, that if the entire world floods this email with any little note or message or demand for service, we're going to get inundated and it's no longer going to become effective. So I'm going to ask that people provide the information on the email about the problem. It's going to go into a triage mode, but it does go directly to the strike team so they can start planning on how to address the problems. So that email address is very simply cst@oropd.org. And again, the strike team is designed to deal with ongoing issues that patrol can't get to, but it doesn't rise to the level of investigations. It's this mid-level that they can go out and they're very fluid. So again, that's cst@oropd.org. And I think that is about what I had for you today.
I see Councilman Johnstone may have a question.
Yeah. Thank you. I think you kind of answered my question. I was going to say, can you give us some examples of what is appropriate to send to that email? You said it was like not detective level per se, but it's not like, reporting trespassing. I mean, reporting.
Yeah, so basically nobody is going to immediately respond. So if it's something where you need a response, that continues to be through dispatch, and we're going to dispatch an officer. But this is things that more like a transient issue where there's a garbage pile that's piling up there. That's where you could maybe send a photo along with that in the address so that they can take a look at that and go address it. If there's speeders in a particular area, I mean, we get a lot of it, but that allows us to address it and see where we can best put our resources for that moment.
Like vandalism, that kind of stuff?
Vandalism, anything. It doesn't have to be small or large. We just need some information without knowing that we're not going to be immediately responding. It's triage, how to solve the problem, an ongoing problem, not a one-off or a two-off thing. It's an ongoing problem that that particular community member or community at large is dealing with.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Alyssa, it looked like you were ready.
I am, thank you. All right, so for our Public Works update, our streets crew, streets, parks, trees, they're starting up their watering operations, so you'll see them early in the morning watering street trees, working on irrigation, those kinds of things started taking up more time in April. 125 tons of asphalt, which equates to about 10,000 square feet. It was completed in the month of May as far as asphalt repairs. Removed and replaced 65 linear feet of sidewalk along First Avenue. The lot home is pretty much done as far as being repainted. The only remaining component is the little, kind of like the deck railing above the front porch. That's all made out of redwood and pretty custom, so it'll be here in about a week. And that'll be it for that project. For sewers, working through easement and lift station weed abatement. Still cleaning and CCTVing in Butte Woods and Executive Parkway areas. And also CCTVing where PG&E has recently done a lot of gas main work just to just make sure that they haven't hit anything or that we're not going to find later. As far as our electrical crew, so they're working on extracting non-working existing poles and fixtures around town. You'll see them installing new solar streetlight poles and fixtures at the intersection of Nelson and 2nd Avenue by the county building, the recorder building. Still working on traffic signal and streetlight maintenance. That is a pilot program too, sorry to jump back. They're solar lights, so we'll see how they work. The idea is to test them out, and if we like them, then we'll potentially get more in our new developments and any new light locations. Working on Montgomery Roundabout replacement streetlights and also preemption for fire and police at our intersections so that when when there's emergency responders, they can go through those intersections more rapidly and more safely. We're holding interviews for a new mechanic on the 13th, and the airport has a fly-in event on the 17th. And then we have two pretty good candidates potentially for an assistant engineer position that we're hoping to start scheduling some interviews for here pretty soon. And that's it for me. Oh, and our new museum curator will start on the
Oh, good.
12th, I believe.
All right. Ruth?
Sure. And would you like a banking RFP update?
Oh, that's right.
It's been this thing not working again. It's been a fun little distraction from the budget, but we got 3 banking proposals, and the entire finance staff has been sitting on demos, and tomorrow we're going to take a little field trip to all 3 of them and just get a feel for the inside and meet the reps. Then it's really been exciting to think that we can have a local rep, because right now the rep for our bank is in Sacramento. I've never met them. It's just a name on an email. So I think this is going to be a really good thing for the city, but some of the staff in their ratings, there's already a clear winner. So I hope to get that to you by the 20th.
Okay. Amy?
Yes, I just wanted to update you on Lincoln Street Senior Apartments. We are expecting to close on the loans next week, Wednesday. And after we do the closing, then we should be getting the notice to proceed. So we're moving along. There's a lot still to accomplish before then, but we'll be moving along. Thank you.
Looking around the room, you know what I did forget to mention? We had the State of the City.
Oh.
And I want to thank all the councilmen for being there. It was very successful, I think, in terms of getting the recognition, and the city certainly got to shine with its PowerPoint talking about the activities. And the PowerPoint is available on the agenda, so if you want a copy of that, it's there and available. And the nice recognition for all the service clubs in the community. I think the newspaper will have something about that soon. They're working on that, so we'll hear more coming forward. Anybody else? We cleared the room. All right. Next item, we'll move to consent calendar. I'm going to pull item number 5. Anyone else have an item to talk about in the consent calendar? Other than that, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent calendar exempt item 5.
On the second.
Call roll, please.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Item 5 is the 50th anniversary of the Freedom Among Veterans Special Guerrilla Units Remembrance Day. That's coming up on the 17th, if I remember right. No, excuse me.
It's the 15th.
15th. And it'll be held down at the Yuba County Airport. We have a resolution here that this council may consider. I'm going to ask our city administrator if he'd so read it for us.
I'll give it a shot here. All right. Whereas 50 years ago, a courageous group of people known for their resilience, strength, and unwavering spirit embarked on a journey of sacrifice and hope, fighting tirelessly to reclaim their freedom, preserve their culture, and build a brighter future for generations to come. And whereas the Hmong community's unwavering dedication, perseverance, and sacrifices in the face of unimaginable hardship have left an indelible mark on the history of our nation, exemplifying the true meaning of courage, patriotism, and the pursuit of liberty. And whereas their sacrifices in jungles of Southeast Asia, their loyalty to principles of freedom, and the relentless fight against oppression have inspired countless others and have contributed greatly to the fabric of our shared history and collective destiny. And whereas the city of Oroville recognizes that the legacy of the Hmong people is a testament to the enduring human spirit, the resilience to overcome adversity, the commitment to community, and the hope for a future where justice and dignity prevail for all. And whereas we honor the elders whose sacrifices paved the way, the warriors who fought bravely for liberation, and the young generations who carry the torch of hope, cultural pride, and perseverance into the future. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Pittman, Mayor of Oroville, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2024 as Hmong American Veterans Memorial Day in the city of Oroville, a day to celebrate the extraordinary journey of the Hmong people, their sacrifices, and their enduring contributions to our society. Let this day serve as a profound reminder that freedom is a sacred gift bought through sacrifice, nurtured through perseverance, and protected by unity. It is a day to honor those who fought for liberty, to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice, and to reaffirm our commitment to justice, equality, and the dignity of all peoples. May the spirit of resilience and hope that defines the Hmong people continue to inspire us all to stand together in the pursuit of peace, understanding, and a future where every individual's right to freedom and dignity is upheld and celebrated. Given under my hand and the seal of the City of Oroville, the 17th day of May, 2025, its deepest respect and solidarity, we honor 50 years of struggle, sacrifice, and triumph on the Hmong community. May their legacy continue to shine as a beacon of hope and resilience for all humanity, past and adopted, on this 6th day of May, 2025.
Entertain a motion to.
So moved.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Motion passes. All in favor?
Thank you. Marie, would you like to come up and tell us about it? Thank you for coming tonight.
So good evening, Mayor Pittman, respected council members. My heart is full tonight. Overflowing with gratitude, my name is Marie Vu, and I'm the founder and president of Share Hmong. I stand before you deeply moved to express our heartfelt thanks for your profound recognition of the Hmong 50 years of freedom. 50 years ago, our people endured unimaginable hardship during and after the Seco War in Laos. We faced a time of raw, searing hardship and profound sacrifice. It was a period etched in our souls with immense pain and the agony of displacement, a desperate tear-filled search for safety. The journey to freedom was not just tough, it was brutal, heartbreaking, marked by devastating loss. For our community arriving in the United States and specifically finding a fragile haven here in Oroville, Butte County, wasn't just a chance. It was a precious, life-giving second chance. It was the chance to breathe again, to begin the agonizing work of rebuilding from the ashes, to raise our children in the safety we desperately searched, and pour our hearts and hand into the fabric of American society. Over the past 5 decades, the Hmong community has woven itself into the very heart and soul of Oroville and Butte County. We've worked with fierce determination, poured our energy into building businesses, nurtured our families with boundless love, and proudly contributed to the vibrant economic and cultural tapestry of this region. You see our dedication, our spirit, and our success reflected in the faces of our children in your schools, in the bustling life of our businesses, in the joyful energy of our community events, and in the unwavering dedication of Hmong individuals serving in countless professions right here in Oroville. Your recognition of our 50 years of freedom is a powerful embrace. It acknowledges the weight of our history, the depth of our struggles, and the richness of our contributions. It is a profound validation of our community's arduous journey and a beautiful strengthening of precious bonds that connect us all. In that spirit of honoring our heroes, I want to extend a deeply personal invitation, and we implore all of you to join us, Butte County and the city of Oroville neighbors, to join us for a truly significant event on Saturday, May 17th at 10 a.m. at the Yuba County Airport. We will be holding the event to honor all Vietnam War veterans with a particular heartfelt emphasis on the Hmong Special Guerrilla Unit. This event is free and open to the public, and we sincerely, truly hope to see all of you there to share in this vital commemoration of their profound courage and enduring sacrifices. Once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Mayor Pittman, Vice Mayor, and council members for your time, for listening with open hearts, and for this truly meaningful and deeply appreciated recognition. Thank you.
Thank
you, Marie.
Thank you. Beautiful.
If I may, just.
Yeah, sure, Councilman Thompson.
Yeah, just want to say, we're grateful for your community in Oroville. It just brings a lot of rich, just the community makes the whole area very rich, and I've only heard wonderful things about the Hmong, and just glad you're here. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. there also will be a special flyover at the airport of the T-28, as I understand it, so.
Replica of what was flown
During the time of, so. We'll see you there on the 17th, so thank you very much. We appreciate that recognition. All right, folks. Next is regular business.
If we can, Mr. Mayor, we do have a public hearing,
Oh.
but however, if we could do item number 1 on the regular calendar, I think it flows better to do that one and then jump into the public hearing on the weed abatement.
Okay, so we're looking at item number 6. 2025 Community Wildfire Protection Plan, CWPP overview.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, staff requests council review the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, CWPP, and authorize the mayor to sign the countywide CWPP. This countywide collaborative plan identifies wildfire risk, outlines mitigation strategies, and improves coordination among agencies. It also positions the city to better protect lives, property, natural resources, while enhancing ability for state and federal grant funding. This is something that Oroville Fire Department has actively participated in for several years. This year, Chief Shullen wanted to make sure that it got in front of all councils and boards for signature and just recognition. But I don't want to get too deep into it and start talking. But Fire Captain Spencer Mallinger's the unit pre-fire engineer, and this is kind of his baby. I can touch on to a little bit more specific to Oroville if there's any questions after, but really this is going to tie into a lot of vegetation management and some other things like that we're working on. Anyways, Fire Captain Spencer Mallinger.
Welcome, Captain.
Hi. All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Do we have the PowerPoint set up? Okay. So this flows along with Wildfire Prevention Week, right? So we talked about Firewise communities, now we're on to the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So once our slide comes up.
We have it all electronically, it's in.
So the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, it's been this year, let's see, there we go. So Community Wildfire Protection Plan is an overall plan to protect the community, what we can do, identifying areas where we can improve our wildfire safety, as well as projects that'll help us to accomplish that. They originated out of the Healthy Forest Restoration Act in 2002. And from there came a framework of what a CWPP, a Community Wildfire Protection Plan, actually is. The 3 metrics: it has to be collaboratively derived, it has to be make a list of your hazardous fuel reduction projects that are the priorities. It also has to identify measures for structural ignitability. And this plan, it doesn't make any requirements. It's just a list of recommendations that can be accomplished in order to achieve those goals of resilient landscapes, fire-adapted communities, and a safe and effective wildfire response. So Butte County adopted the first Community Wildfire Protection Plan in 2006. Prior to that, CAL FIRE has, for many decades, has had each unit, CAL FIRE unit, has its own fire plan. So Butte, the CAL FIRE Butte unit has had its fire plan. As the CWPP framework came about, those 2 plans were merged and became one. It became one plan that we can, one plan to update on a regular basis, as opposed to 2 that were developed, that were maintained in parallel. So, which has helped to ensure that the local CWPP is aligned with the statewide goals of CAL FIRE and the CAL FIRE Butte unit. Gets everyone on the same page, moving the same direction. So as the CWPP, it has been presented to the various city councils, the Board of Supervisors, for a signature every 5 years or so since then. And each year, as the fire plan, the CAL FIRE fire plan, it's reviewed by CAL FIRE and goes to the Board of Forestry in Sacramento and is approved through all the levels of CAL FIRE in addition. So this is the first complete rewrite in about 20 years. As opposed to just the annual incremental ones we've done in the past. So this year, we took the existing document and completely rewrote it from beginning to end. So what makes Butte's CWPP unique? That it's the fact that it is a combined fire plan for CAL FIRE as well as the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and it covers the entire county. Many counties will have multiple CWPPs that are in just the northwest part of the county, one for the southwest, and for just this community over here, whereas ours is all-encompassing, includes all jurisdictions, county, city, town. We have the Fire Safe Council was key in helping to develop this, and as they said earlier, they have projects in every area of the county. And our plan not only is the local plan that was developed locally, but it's also approved at the statewide level. Most of the CWPPs right now don't go through the same level of review through CAL FIRE as ours does, since it is also the Butte Unit's fire plan. This is just a quick timeline of where we've been on this project. Knowing that 2025 was a 5-year benchmark for us, we've been shooting for this rewrite for a number of years, really with the planning process really getting started in the early 2024. We were able to obtain grant funding. Butte County was able to obtain grant funding for this project through the CAL FIRE's CCI, the California Climate Investments Program, and was able to fund this entirely through that grant project. One of the big focuses, because historically our CWPP kind of took the unit fire plan and molded it into a CWPP. So it was very heavily into, from a fire department perspective, and that sort of thing. We really wanted to change the dynamic of the document this year so that it's a focus on a community wildfire protection plan that also meets the state's requirements for a fire plan. So community engagement, stakeholder engagement outside of the fire service and outside of government agencies was a big focus. So we reached out to all the incorporated cities, town, the county. We worked with the Butte County Collaborative Group, which is a group of about 30 local, federal, state, private, nonprofit entities that all have the Resource Conservation District and a number of other local entities that are interested in overall wildfire safety. We also directly outreach to other collaborators that are not part of the collaborative group. And we also did some presentations to the various chambers of commerce in order to engage those organizations. Public outreach was another huge part of this. We started off with some media releases and some social media. We did community workshops early on to kind of get some input from the public. And there was a community survey that was open for 6 or 7 months that we got 128 responses from, so we were able to incorporate that into our plan. There was also a public review period. And then finally, during the public review period, we had public meetings to show the plan at the Orville Library as well as at the Chico Library. This CWPP is a complete rewrite. Nothing is the same as the old one. It is a complete rewrite with a big focus on, like we said, the stakeholders and community collaboration. This document includes a list of recommendations for our local government, our fire departments, our local cooperators to look to for guidance for things that we felt would be valuable as far as projects to incorporate. There's a lot of more data-driven hazard modeling as far as science behind, what are our fuel types and what do our fuel types and what does our topography mean for the various areas. It also includes a lot of resources for property owners and post-fire recovery resources, and also a project list of projects that are either currently being actively worked on for fuel reduction, or that would be valuable, that one of our cooperating agencies feels like, hey, this is an area we'd like to do a project in the future, and trying to work towards that goal of starting that, getting that project going. Like we talked about before, this document, as part of the Butte Unit Fire Plan, is reviewed annually. So every year, we're going to come back and review it. This is not going to sit on a shelf and age. It's going to be actively reviewed with updates every year. As far as some of the specific things we look to update every year are the fire department's priorities, We do an ignition analysis, looking at where our ignitions were for the last so many years, see where they're congregated, and see if there's any patterns that we can identify that are places that, hey, we're getting a lot of roadside starts, so maybe we can look at doing some more roadside clearing. We're getting a lot of, fires associated with a certain number of things, so looking to mitigate those types of issues. We also include our annual accomplishments, and we update the project list. That is things that we are currently and will in the future be looking at completing. One note that's in there, I don't know where it's at, Orville is at in the adoption process of the local fire hazard severity zones, but since those haven't been finalized yet, either at the local level or the statewide level, there is a placeholder in here for when those do get adopted. Those will be put into the main document. Right now, they're not included because they have not been finalized yet. So right now, we're currently in the process of presenting the plan. We presented to the Butte County Board of Supervisors on the 22nd, presented to Gridley last night, presenting to you tonight. Paradise, Biggs, and the City of Chico are coming up in the next couple weeks. Once, we've been through the approval process locally, this will go through Sacramento's approval process and make its way up to the Board of Forestry. One other exciting thing that we have, not only are we doing the PDF document that we've done in the past, but we are also going to be building out what's called a story map. So it's going to be an interactive website that'll display a lot of the dense material that's in here, a lot of the reading material in a visual format, in maps that are interactive, and be able to really engage the user or the reader and really try and show a lot more detail than is possible to do in the PDF maps. We should have a draft of that published by this summer. And really, that's going to be an ongoing process. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep it constantly live, updated to be, so the online content is going to be constantly up to date and constantly reviewed. So, with this, we're asked for the council to authorize the mayor to sign. And, we'd love to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from council? Look around. We're deeply involved in reading the entire.
It's a lot to unpack.
It's certainly comprehensive. I was just stopped on the in-house populations. That's one of our bigger problems that, we have. I know from some discussions and communications I've had from Pacific Palisades, that was, prior to that event, they had a 60% ratio of that population causing incidents in and about that immediate area. So that's, and we've had the same problem here. We lost a commercial building due to that particular population and other buildings in town. So it's a predictable outcome with that population, but we're all striving to work on it. I was hoping there'd be a solution in the plan, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a very thorough document. Do we have any cards on this item?
No cards.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks, questions?
Mr. Mayor, just to really drive it home, so you guys and myself understand that this is really a living document for us to get some of our challenges out, broadcast it, make it known, and some information that we put in is some fuel reduction projects and plans like that. The goat grazing, the Public Works works on, which I think is like a $250,000 3-year contract. We could seek funding through that way for the city retention or city property areas that we're trying to mitigate. The Orville Airport burn also counts as fuel reduction. And many other projects that we're working on too, that I'm working behind the scenes with Fire Safe Council to create some fuel reduction on the eastern side of Orville and work some of those roads and pushing some of that clearance out on the road to try to reduce roadside spots and stuff like that. It covers our staffing levels, our apparatus, and it really just puts us out on Front Street, says, here's our challenges, this is what we're working on, these are our goals moving forward, and we can always add more. I'm happy to work towards more fuel reduction, and we could add, I believe, it's close to 150 acre fuel reduction with the goats. So if you think of it, at that perspective, that's 150 acres of fuel that's been reduced, plus 130 acres, I believe, roughly at the airport out there. So the efforts are out there. There's some challenges because there's a lot of residential lots and community-owned property versus public-owned property. So there's some challenges there, but, you know, it's time that we focus a little bit more on some of that city-owned property and try to offset the cost for the city residents of Oroville as well.
One comment I don't know if it's in here, but I just recently did a web-based seminar over, there is an ability for a fuel reduction project to get a CEQA exempt status. I don't know if that's in here yet or not. This is brand new. It's a process. It sounds like it's fairly complicated, but if the project's big enough, it'd certainly be well worth it to get that status, because some of the projects have been held up before in the past because of CEQA.
Absolutely, and that is not included in this plan. That is brand new.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that goes into that. There's no easy answer on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I was encouraged to hear it happen, and I didn't understand why they had the CEQA status had to come from Sacramento, from Mr. Crowfoot, the Secretary Crowfoot. So it's like, well, that's pretty high up I would rather have seen that status at a local government level to dip that. But anyway, that's new, and that'll probably come follow up later on. All right, any other questions? So we
Looking for a motion.
move for adoption or motion.
Second.
Call roll. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes. All in favor?
All right. Want to go to the public hearing? All right, public hearing, we'll open the public hearing at, well, let me see here, at 5:43 for item number 11, which is the public hearing proposed updates to the weed abatement ordinance of the city of Oroville. Chief Tens.
Good evening.
Long time no see.
Busy night tonight, but I think it's all a lot of hard work, not only by my staff, but behind the scenes. As part of the cooperative agreement with Spencer and having him help us work on that has been fantastic. But what you have in front of you tonight is a proposed update to the current weed abatement ordinance in an effort to strengthen wildfire prevention and align with new fire hazard severity zones. Staff recommends updating Oroville's weed abatement ordinance. Some key changes include revised fire hazard definitions, emphasis on defensible space, clearer language, and specific provisions for larger properties. These updates aim to enhance community safety and ensure consistency with state fire risk assessments. Protecting Oroville is a shared effort. These improvements will help reduce fire hazards and better safeguard lives and property. So the previous weed abatement ordinance is done fantastic, and I can't say anything but good things for it. It's been around for 40 years. It's been on my to-do list for a while, but it's worked really well. But I think that it's time to add, with all the unfortunate devastation around in our community, to update it and take some extra steps and update some of the language that's in it, bring it more up-to-date, more current, and specifically more towards the fire hazard severity zone maps that are coming out. So with those, we've now identified some of those threats in the city. And basically, this new ordinance aims to implement some of those requirements that come with it. And I also wanted to update it to make it a little bit more, understandable, I guess, is a good way to put it. In Chapter 38, information that is already going to be required on the fire hazard severity zone maps anyways. So we'll take that information and put it into the updated weed abatement ordinance. Hopefully you had a chance to read through it. I did make a couple adjustments to it that I was going to pass out to you guys. I've been working on it for a while, and it's taken a lot of my hair off my top of my head, what's left. But it's duly worthy. So with that, I guess I could ask for any questions, but I did want to provide some of these updates. I felt we needed to add a fire break definition because that verbiage is in there a lot. So I added that, and then I added and actually got a little bit more into depth with some larger lots and some of those requirements. And just to give it a little bit more perspective too, is I'm focused more on larger lots. The old weed abatement was just kind of like a blanket ordinance, right? Which it worked really well. But this is going to focus more into those true larger lots that are more of a fire hazard to the community. So on more of the eastern side of the city, the WUI area that bumps up to SRA, LRA over in that area, we already have the mutual threat zone with CAL FIRE for CAL FIRE resources. So it's really going to kind of target that area, but it still encompasses the downtown area and more of the urban area as well. So if I can, I could pass these out to you just for some of those changes. But it would be, the only changes that I proposed was some verbiage for properties 1 to 5 acres and greater than 5 acres and greater.
Okay.
Councilman Reynolds has a question for you.
Thank you. That was actually what I wanted to ask you about. You've got it in here, 5 acres. If a property is 5 acres, you want a break down the middle of it as well as around the perimeter? Well, what if somebody owns more property than that? Are you asking for every 5 acres to have that break down the middle of it?
So this cleans a lot of that up. So basically with that is, yes, you're right. So 5 acres or more would require a 30-foot fire break, which falls under code anyways. And more into the downtown area, you wouldn't have to put a 30-foot in 1 acre, you would put a 10-foot fire break. But on those larger lots, what I'm asking for is instead of that 30-foot fire break around an entire perimeter. So if there are lots that are close to 300 acres in the city right now, there's pre-existing roads, but what I'd propose is that those roads were strengthened, stuff that's already there. But I put verbiage in there that, if there's creeks or, other things like that, that can be used. But if you have 300 acres and you only have a 30-foot fire break all the way around, you're going to build a ton of heat and produce embers and stuff within that. If we were to strengthen some of those fire breaks inside of that perimeter, it would help take a lot of that heat out and reduce some of the ember casts and stuff that are coming through and take a lot of the heat out before it hit the main fire break on the outside. And that gives us a little better opportunity to really get in there and be a little bit more aggressive with fire attack strategies.
Do you take topography into consideration, and is there a certain grade where the fire break wouldn't be feasible?
Yeah, so, and it does cover in there that there are some other options. Let me see if I could find it right here. So, let's go to the next one here. So site-specific conditions is really that verbiage where it gives us a little bit of room. But I would encourage on those larger lots, the fire department assist code enforcement and just come up with some ideas, not only to help the property owner, but also to, truly have a tactic means behind the additional fire break that would be implemented in there.
Okay, and then the guidelines that you're talking about, code enforcement, helping with would be, they would be laid out beforehand? They would be helping the property owner interpret those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of education behind it, and myself and my team are more than willing to step in and help. And the idea is not to make it more difficult on our residents at all, but it is, we do need to take some extra precautions, and I feel that this is a good step towards that.
Right, I just want to make sure that the guidelines would be interpreted by the attorney or leadership yourself. It wouldn't just be whoever showed up for code enforcement and
Correct.
what they thought.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, we're here to help them through it, help code enforcement and anybody in the community that needs the help. And, maybe there's other options out there as well.
Thank you.
Councilman Thompson's in the queue.
Thank you. And just coincidentally, I was talking to my neighbors today regarding some of the area that I showed you when you came in, kind of below our homes, that lower area, there's a lot of vegetation that's been just, before us purchasing the property wasn't maintained, things weren't cleared, and it's a big project for everybody, but, there's steps he's taking, others are taking, that I'm taking. I think one of the, just looking for advice, that some of the things that are impeding currently some of our own efforts that don't cost, beyond for the affordability is the amount of poison ivy. It's just completely overgrown, and so having, going in there even, I'm extremely, and I was talking to my neighbor, and he's extremely, what's the word? Allergic to it.
Yeah.
Strong reactions, myself included.
Mhm.
Just advice on what to do for myself or other properties, because I know that in the east, the poison oak is pretty rampant, especially for areas that haven't been maintained. Any ideas, or maybe you and I can talk?
Well,
separately?
in here, I'd added some, I should have pulled it up in front of me, but there's a community education incentive, or not incentive, but program really, where really we come out, we would maybe put on a presentation or some kind of, have a ton of information online, but also, make contact with the fire department. We come out and we're more than happy to work around that stuff and achieve the same goal. But yeah, I mean, this is gonna help us get out into the community, and get the fire department back out and helping with some of the stuff, and meeting with property owners, talking to them, hearing their concerns, and coming up with options. But this is a good starting point to take that extra step. But yeah, you're absolutely right with poison oak. I don't like it either. I get it in one spot, it's all over. So, yeah, but maybe there's a pre-existing road or something that we can work from, or maybe we put a little bit wider exterior fire break in. I'm definitely not closed-minded by it, but, we get out, the fire department gets out, takes a look, and provides some insight.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Smith is in the queue.
Thank you. Yeah. On this part, page 838 talks about the use of goats and/or hoofed animals.
Mhm.
And then there's a discussion about an exemption. You could have more hoofed animals potentially than acreage. And so just a thought on that, if someone tried to abuse and graze animals beyond, a specified period, in other words, there's no timeline there. You just know in certain areas, sometimes people run animals, and then I'm just thinking in terms of odor, or how I don't know if you've thought about that or not, because anyone that's owned cows or goats knows that, they can become, a bit pungent over time.
Yes.
So I just, was there any thought or how to manage that part of it?
So right now, there's an affidavit for livestock to run livestock on your property in lieu of, fire breaks and mowing and such like that, but there's nothing that says how many. So you could have 10 acres and, one goat on it. It doesn't do anything. So we had to find a balance of, a number, which is hard to find, but it is available online. And we did reduce it a little bit. But as far as odor and stuff like that, no, I haven't really thought about that side of it.
In this one-off instance where somebody, I'm going to put 30 cows on an acre, yeah, because there's an exemption, which would be obviously very excessive and a problem real fast. So it probably won't ever come up, but it could. And so
It absolutely could. I did not think of that. I just was more concerned with the number, because like I said,
somebody abusing the opportunity, taking advantage of the opportunity. Hey, there's an exemption here. I'm going to run me a pile of cows in the city limits.
Yeah, I wish I was a farmer and had more experience with it.
I've had animals, and I've dealt with it. So, and I've seen sometimes people put more animals than they really should, and there's like some wiggle room. So. Hopefully it never comes up. But.
Yeah, I hope not.
I would say they're going to have fuel as well.
Yeah.
So if they have too many animals, they're going to run out of fuel.
Councilman Goodson's up next for a question.
It's not a question for you. I was just going to volunteer some trivia information to Councilman Thompson. It's my understanding that goats are immune to poison ivy. So, they're not affected by that toxic plant.
I got a bid for just a small area there. It's expensive. Thousands and thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Just for a small little area.
So we had looked at some, I had originally had some verbiage in here of some incentives to community members, and I didn't really want to put it in the ordinance, but it's something that I'll work on, which through TFG, we're looking at, we're going to seek grant funding and maybe be able to offer that to our citizens. Maybe where we have some money, they present a plan, it goes in front of council, and, maybe GOATS is, helps with that funding, or, some other non-flammable
Yeah.
material.
Councilman Reynolds is in the queue now.
Yes, sir, thank you. To speak to Vice Mayor Smith's comments, there actually is an ordinance that has a ratio of how many animals for your acreage. And I was surprised at how few animals you can have for acreage. So that has been thought of and taken care of.
Yeah, I'm actually aware of that. I was just wondering if this exemption then would allow somebody to supersede that for fire reduction. And maybe that's to the attorney. Excuse me?
I'll have to evaluate that.
Yeah.
More closely with the others.
So just how that would be managed.
Councilman Weber's got a question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I was taking a bunch of notes right now, and I'm not going to read all those notes, but if this question was asked by anybody in the council, please forgive me. But can this potentially help with insurance? Is there a potential with that? And I know that may not be a good enough question for you, but I'm just thinking if we have more clearance, more weed abatement, could this be a potential benefit for our insurance cost?
I hope so. I hope so. I've worked with several insurance companies. Some of them are a little bit more open about it. Some of them are not. But, the idea is to help not only for, fire prevention, but also to help, with some of the insurance costs. If somebody comes out and looks at the property and you've taken all these measures, I would hope that they would show some forgiveness for that, for sure. But I don't think that traditionally they do, unfortunately. And I've written letters to insurance companies on behalf of community members, and I just haven't been very successful with that, unfortunately. It falls under their map that they have, their tiered insurance map that's separate from anything, unfortunately, anything that we do. Very unfortunate.
Thank you.
Just to add to that comment, I'm aware of a number of articles, again, from the Pacific Palisades, that actually the insurance companies saw that the LA City had diminished their fuel reduction program, and that caused them to non-renew and leave that area. 3 major insurance companies left there because they were not enforcing the rules that they had before. So they saw the handwriting on the wall, and so the companies left versus non-renewing, they just left. There was I think, almost 60% non-renewal of many of the homes that burned down, so it doesn't really answer your question, but it's kind of speaks to the same topic, so.
I can say with all the fuel reduction in Paradise that was mentioned earlier by the Butte County Fire Safe Council, that, a lot of those measures are finally starting to be recognized.
Yeah.
So I hope, by us tightening the belt a little bit, that may help in the long run, but I'm not sure in the short term.
One of the things I want to mention too is unique that we have a drop dead date, June 15th. And that helps a lot of communities know that we're all working toward the same goal. If you have a non-certain specific date, then quickly the people start thinking about, well, how come I got this notice and my neighbor didn't get the notice, and so on and so forth. This is all equally, administered. Everybody in town knows June 15th is the final day to have your weeds cut. And I think it works very well to the future that, people don't feel any different. If we're all going the same path, then the kid running the weed eater next door is going to run the weed eater next door, and everybody was working on the same goal. I think that's a key element of this program, is to have everybody meet that, and I think it's a good thing otherwise. Not any other discussion? Entertain a motion to proceed with the hearing?
Yeah, I believe it's waived first reading.
With the proposed changes.
Right.
Correct, and if there's no other changes, we'll incorporate the changes that the chief had mentioned this evening. We'll bring those back for adoption
Okay.
on the 20th.
With no one objecting, by consensus, we'll move this forward?
Yep, and then I'll provide anything that you need to know about the number of livestock.
Okay.
Existing in the code.
The ratio.
check the other code.
There is a ratio somewhere.
There is
yeah.
a ratio,
Yeah.
yes, it is. So I'll just make sure
All right.
that, we're not going to get anybody cited for having goats doing things on their property.
Well, goats, and let's add rabbits too. I've known someone that used rabbits to do it, so. I'm,
Interesting anecdote.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure that's clarified.
Thank you. All right, then we don't have any cards in this issue, do we?
No cards for this item.
All right. So at 6:05, I'll close the public hearing for that issue, for item number 11. We'll jump back to item number 7. Is that correct? Employment contract with Ruth Duncan for the position of finance director. Any questions from council?
I'd like to make a motion.
Call the roll.
Aye.
Motion
Appreciate
passes.
you,
All in
Ruth.
favor?
Yes, thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
Yay. Item number 8, employment contract amendments with contracted employees. Brian?
Yeah, I'll take this. This is an item that just does some cleanup language. The current contracts have the benefits that are accrued, i.e. sick leave, vacation, and bereavement, articulated as days. And when we have individuals that have different work schedules, days can be interpreted in different ways. So for cleanup purposes, we just articulate it in hours now. So 1 day is equivalent to 8 hours. So that's the cleanup there. And then there was one other item in there that we cleaned up as well with regards to if we have an individual who is personally ill and misses extended periods of time from work, that the 6-month severance package doesn't apply if that individual is unable to return to work.
Okay.
So there's no, it's basically cleanup language for all
Okay.
contract employees.
Council have any questions? Any public cards on this item?
No cards for this item.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Call the roll, please.
Motion passes. All in favor?
Item number 9, alleyway naming initiative.
Yeah, so this item is placed on the agenda at the request of Council Member Goodson and Council Member Weber with the idea of considering the idea. We have a lot of alleyways throughout the city limits that do not have, I think they're known, and some of them are known, like Miners Alley, they have more informal names, but there's a lot of other alleyways that don't have any specific name referencing them. And the idea was brought forward to see if the council felt that this would be an issue with regards to public safety as far as making it easier to identify if there is a service call for law enforcement, for fire, to be able to get there quicker if there were names on the individual alleys. There's approximately, I believe, 50 alleyways roughly. So the idea was put this on the agenda and have a discussion and see what the council's wishes were.
Council comments? Oh, Councilman Johnstone's first.
I'm gonna let Councilwoman.
Thank you.
speak
I appreciate that. So this isn't our first rodeo with this topic. This has been mulled around for many, many years. And it has come into the forefront because it has become a safety concern. And one of the biggest challenges in emergency response is you want to quickly identify the location where the incident is and/or the scene of a crime. We know that increasingly we have areas, I would say, areas that are heavily targeted for drug use and overdoses. And so when you have a large framework of alleyways that are not identified, that lack the signage and the names, it makes it really difficult for emergency vehicles to navigate and reach critical calls, especially life-threatening situations without delay. So I know for my district, Southside, we have the most alleyways. And when we hear things, noises, and we call dispatch, and they ask what's the general vicinity, even though most of the streets in Southside have alleyways, we can only say it is between this street and that street, which leads to confusion and slower response times for not just police, but for fire and medical teams as well. And every second counts, you know, in an emergency, and a delay could mean the difference between life and death. So this is, and so Councilman Weber, we had both expressed this concern, and there was a situation where you had called me and said, this is something that an officer had mentioned to you, so I'll, it's up to Councilwoman Tracy. Did you want to yield the floor to Councilman? All right. And then you can reclaim your time. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was approached not once but twice by two separate officers over the last year, but most recently in regard to an incident where they had an incident in your district, actually, where they were trying to get somebody, and they were like, man, if we could just get these alleys named, because we were like calling out on the radio where we were at, and the other people couldn't identify, like, where are you? What street, in between where, what, you know? And he's like, if we could have these alleys named, then it would be that much simpler for us to be able to call out exactly where we're at any given moment. So I know that somebody may be thinking, that's listening to this, or even maybe in the audience, that is thinking this might be not a high priority list item, but I would have to concur with Councilmember Goodson that I think that this is a public safety issue. And the important thing to note is that as we look at the overall cost of this, that we don't have to eat the whole elephant at one time. You know, this
Right.
could be something done in incremental bites over the next few years. And I would suggest that we start in Councilmember Goodson's district, because she does have the most alleys, but all of us have alleys in our districts.
Right.
Some more than others. I think the order of how many would probably be Councilmember Goodson, and then followed by perhaps me, maybe Tracy, I'm not sure. But there's a lot. There's a surprising amount of alleys that are not named, not maintained up to what we should be maintaining them. And then that public safety element is certainly a factor here. So again, it's not a matter of doing this all at once. We could do it in bites.
2 to 3 years.
Naming the high priority ones, and then start doing it a little bit at a time. So obviously I support this, and I hope the rest of the council would find it to support it as well.
Tracy?
Thank you for yielding. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
So I'm not, obviously, public safety is a huge on my list as far as priorities. However, we have alleys that cross multiple streets, right? So when you say naming alleys, are we going to name each individual alley? Or are we going to name an alley that crosses over multiple streets? I mean, maybe Chieftains or
It's a question for Alyssa.
or Alyssa. I guess my question is, I mean, I think for our chiefs and our Chief Wines do a pretty good job. They have a general knowledge of the areas when emergencies happen. I don't see how it's going to benefit, and maybe we can have more of a discussion on it, but it just seems like $35,000 for something that, again, are we suggesting that we name each alleyway, like?
Well, so for example, in South Side, or just your average alley, it's end to end.
Which it
And
crosses
so when you're
multiple
talking
streets.
about approximately 195 signs at a cost of $35,000, and you take into consideration, we can do it in-house. This isn't something that you would outside contract.
Sure.
And it would be done during the rainy season, the winter season, where some of these prioritized projects, you cannot continue the work because of the weather conditions. And so Wade and Alyssa have penciled out what that looks like. So if I can be specific, I cannot put a price on somebody's life. We'll just say, in the city as a whole, in the county as a whole, there are fentanyl overdoses. That type of activity is a lot of times done, our alleyways are active.
Okay.
And so I believe that each of us were voted in, first and foremost, for the safety and protection of our citizens and our guests.
I agree with you 100%. I'm not disputing that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just having a little bit of trouble understanding what necessarily the benefit would be to name each individual alley. I mean, normally, and I'm not a dispatch person, so I
Yes.
don't, I don't know. But I would assume, and maybe Chief Wines or Chief Tins
Can speak to
can
that.
speak to that as far as when an emergency comes in, you're going to give, directions of south, this alleyway south of such and such, right? So would signs be beneficial, or naming of alleyways be a benefit?
I would really need to see it on paper to give a good, educated, answer on that. I mean, right now, I spent 11 years working in South Orville, really enjoyed it. I know the alleys like the back of my hand, but there's a lot of them. So right now, currently, if you have, let's say, Rose Bend and Fallbrook, something like that, and the alleyway in between, I know it. But I think when you throw a name on something without an address, it adds a little bit of confusion, especially if you're talking about, I'm not even sure how many alleys there are, but there's a lot, so.
There's over 22.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think that,
there's a lot of
maybe we
alleys
look at
south side.
something where it's like all, coming straight down is one. I think maybe if we look at some options, maybe, but right now, if we threw essentially another, 20-something streets in Southside, it would be a little confusing, especially without like an address attached to it. But I'm not completely opposed, but I think right now, just with knowing all the alleys that run through there versus like currently, between Rose Bend and Elgin and, the alley that runs east to west or something like that, I would just know it. But then if you threw, let's say we had a TC where you had multiple engines responding on Elgin between alley J and alley K or something like that, that might, because you're gonna have multiple that are gonna cross in
Right.
one street right there.
That's what.
So without, some kind of identifiers and, stuff like that, I think the amount is really truly would be a little confusing. So maybe if there's a way to incorporate multiple or, where it carries all the way through.
Right.
Maybe like if they're minimized or something. But like I said, typically if we're given, Elgin, if we're responding to Elgin Street, we're attached with an address within the two cross streets.
Yeah. Councilman, go ahead.
That's my concern is and again, I'm not opposed to it. I just don't want
Right.
to create more confusion when there's systems are in place for fire or for even PD. I don't want it to create more confusion than be beneficial. So that's just my concern.
I think something comprehensive on a map where we can incorporate,
Right.
multiple, maybe something like that, or like a true name all the way down like Miners Alley, runs across multiple
Right.
streets, something like that, I think could be beneficial too, but like.
But we're
with-
open, I mean, this is
No,
just a
I
preliminary
do like it.
discussion.
I mean, even, like honoring, a community member or something, naming it after them or, something like that. I just think that currently there's a ton of alleyways. And, when we hit Z, where do we go from there kind of thing, so.
Councilman Thompson's in the queue.
It's all alphabetical now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the cost, isn't an issue for me. I think it's just the man hours. So I would be totally fine with it if it was, I heard, incrementally. So if we're not looking to, what's the number,
195.
if we're not looking to tackle 195 signs,
a
but
lot.
if
Lot of
between
signs.
our police chief and our fire chief and our public works, to target specifically the high-risk zones or the high-call zones, that might make it easier, because especially for people at nighttime, they're in an alleyway, could easily say, I'm in the corner of this and this alley, to be able to look at that. I'd be for that, but I mean, as a one-person, 54 weeks, it's two people, one admin, one laborer. So it is quite a few hours. So again, to go after the 195, I'd be in favor of, okay, let's hit, this alleys specifically that have the higher
Or the
risk.
high target.
Higher,
crime
because
areas.
if we're doing it for alleys, just for doing alleys, when we have so many other things that need to be done, I would have a hard time with that. But for the public safety aspect of it, to working with the three of you at your guys' direction, then absolutely, obviously, public safety is number one for, I think, for all of us.
Vice Mayor Smith.
Yeah, I'm just supporting that,
Okay.
essentially. I think deferring it back to, engineering and professionals to give us some feedback, because at the end of the day, this is about public safety. And so is this a need? And it sounds like from Councilman Weber's standpoint that there has been some expression from law enforcement. So, certainly if it's something that's going to enhance and give you a tool that's more effective, then with that, so if that comes back and there's an affirmative on that, then I'm, totally in support, obviously. And then I think we should make it, you stole my thunder, by the way, because I thought that'd be really like a Dr. Rivers Alley, or, some of the significant contributors to our community. We think about the awards and all the things that we do. I think that'd be a lot of fun to take, current members, our current community folks that have really contributed to our community in our lifetime, because oftentimes.
He died on Thompson
Right,
Alley.
and it's always people back in 1800s, it was so-and-so, but it would give us an opportunity to participate in that.
It's
Yeah,
Thompson
so
Alley.
it'd be a lot of fun. So that's my contribution to the
Councilman
conversation.
Reynolds is in the queue for a question.
And I'm sorry, I was afraid that was where this was going to go. That, and you really need to ask law enforcement and fire what they want, because that would create nothing but confusion. And so I would think that they would be the ones who would come up with the numbers or letters. But I heard Councilmember Johnstone mention $35,000. That's only for the material for 195 signs. The labor for an admin at 975 hours is, what's that bill out, $120 an hour? 120, and then you got 975 hours of labor for a laborer. What's that bill out at, 60? You're $250,000, $300,000. Nobody's putting a price on life or anything else, but I want you to go into it with full knowledge of what this would cost. And 195 signs, what is that based on? Is that based on the
End to
block
end.
increments? Because my neighborhood is full of alleys too. Is that included?
No, it is. This is
It
the
is.
whole
That's
city.
all the
All
whole
the
city,
alleyways.
all downtown, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Okay, I just want to
And
be
Wade
clear
did that.
on the price. Yeah, it's not 35,000. And the only, I support it. Who wouldn't support it? But I really think it needs to be up to fire and law enforcement.
Absolutely.
To identify, they're the ones who are going to
Right.
be using them.
Right.
We don't want to be Johnson's, left-hand turn, or, you know, by the livery stable. So, you know, they need to be the ones that identify this stuff, because they have certain disciplines and languages that make these things conducive and operational for them. So they would be the one, we're not concerned about us, going to meet me at, Johnson's Alley we're gonna have a barbecue or something, that we're not concerned with. What we're concerned about is seconds and minutes shaved off of response time. So they, in my opinion, I really think we need to defer to the professionals.
Councilman Weber, is in the queue?
Yeah, thank you. I've heard confusion be mentioned many times. And I think that what is being missed with those statements is that this will ultimately avoid confusion. Okay, this is not a confusion element that's being added. This is not a detriment that would be added. This would be an addition to. Because you got to also consider that once this is established, then this would also be established on Google Maps as well. So which would mean that it would be real-time digital access by all of you and everybody else to know exactly where that. And then I've also heard it be said that there would not be any addresses identified with an alley. That's fine, but what about the 2400 block of XYZ alley? 1200 block, 1100 block, whatever, And then that way it gives the reporter real access to where they're at. Hey, I live at 1240 Bird Street. I don't have an alley behind me, but if I did, I could say, hey, I'm in the 1200 block of Bird, and there's an alley behind me, and there's a guy overdosing on fentanyl right now in between 1st and 2nd Street, and the alley's named whatever, right?
The dispatcher would know
Exactly.
the
Then they
name
would
of
have
the
an accurate
alley.
pinpoint description. So the thought that this would cause confusion is actually, with all due respect to everybody that used that word, absurd, because it won't cause confusion. It'll actually enact order. So, and then, it's just, anyway, this just, it's worth us looking into for sure, so.
Sure.
And I think that, with that incremental,
That would
we
be a
don't need to
good
do
start.
all of it once, and we could actually identify the most, hard-hit areas as well,
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent, because we may come down to identifying this area as a hot spot, that area is a hot spot, and then it may not even be 195 signs. And the last thing I'll say is, I don't know exactly where the numbers came up with the labor for this, but that seems a little high to me. So I don't know what the calculations were, how we calculated those numbers, because if it hasn't been done, then how do we know how much time it's going to take? And I say that respectfully, but I'm just curious. So,
Sure.
I believe Wade crunched the numbers on that.
Well, Wade provided the labor time just to install the sign. So that's the labor, 5 hours per sign. That's probably, two folks going out there, also maybe doing a site visit ahead of time to see exactly where the sign would go. Travel time. So it's assumed 5 hours plus making the sign. So they actually make the signs in-house also. The admin time is more like my time, Jason's time, Chris's time, Tim's time, Wade's time. So if we all 5 of us are in a room to talk about one sign and we're there for 1 hour, that's 5 hours.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right.
That's just so you know where those numbers are coming
that
from.
seems like a lot of.
Well, when you're talking about naming it with however you want to go about naming it, those kinds of brainstorm sessions have a tendency to run long.
Yeah.
In
And
my
If I
history.
could just add in something here, I do have some concerns about the naming conventions.
Thank you.
I've been doing this for 30 years. You name street wrong, you're going to have problems.
Yeah.
So I think there does need to be some consideration as to what it's enabled. Exactly right, Councilman Weber. Right now, it's 2400 block of such and such alleyway behind. Been doing this 30 years, we get there. I appreciate where we're going with it, and if it solves problems, great. But a naming
Okay.
convention is not just a simple throw a name on it.
Right.
It can lead to problems, and I've seen it over my career. So
Okay.
please just ask that you give it some consideration
Sure.
as to what the naming conventions will be.
All right.
Councilman Reynolds, you're in the queue?
Thank you. That's what I meant by the word confusion, was the naming aspect of it. It wasn't, it's a great idea, and it does need to be identified, but the naming aspect of it was, that, to me, that was confusion. And I'm watching our are professionals, and I'm watching their reaction to those comments, and the naming of it is important. I think numbers and letters are simple, and it's what they work with. So that's what I meant by confusion. It's a great program, but or project, but we can turn it into something else with too much input. I say keep it simple.
Right.
Thank you.
Certainly, it's a good item and it's a good project. Back in my time in '74, when I started, we didn't have anything digital to know where a road was. So our requirement was to memorize every street in this town and take a test over that. So I have a ridiculous amount of trivia in my brain right now. Do you know where Tucker Lane is? Do you know where Placer Lane is? Do you know where Village Way is? Do you know where Y Street is? Do you know where Fig Alley is? I do, because it was memorized in my brain. I think the simple thing here, just because I agree, you all have a good point, but let's take Columbia Street. The alley directly south of Columbia, we call it Columbia Alley, or A Street. The alleys directly south of A Street, call it A Alley. That way, the street identifies it, and because right now what we do is we talk about between A and B Street. If you identify it to the south, I think that'll help us a lot, because that way, okay, I'm going to B Street and the alley's on the south side of it. And I'm just throwing that at us we got to have a simple formula that is already identified by a street name, and the chief is right. If you don't have your names down right, you won't know where you're going. You know, the worst thing we have is Canyon Highlands and Highlands. And do you know where Valley View Drive is? What's the intersection of Valley View Drive? There's 7 intersections of Valley View Drive because it snakes up the hill and it goes from the city to the county. So I've heard all these, and there are difficulties. So what we had to do is just memorize. And I can ridiculously tell you where an address is in any place in this town. I mean, that's just it. I realize we're in a different time now. We have these electronic things to tell us where. But if we make it real simple, I think we'll be successful. And I agree that it's not a very high priority item, but a necessary item that can be done, in off times when we're not doing, big projects, and probably a wintertime type of project kind of thing, because it does require time to, bore a hole and put a pipe up and stand the sign up and all that. So I'm okay with that. And it's a funny thing, once you identify the alley, then the people will adopt it.
Quickly.
And very quickly, yeah, once it's identified, once it has a name to it, Lila Lane, where's that at? And I get ridiculous things, but I don't think we should be naming anything after anybody, because that just creates another element down the line.
Absolutely.
But where if we use the existing street and then identify it either by the alley next to it on the south side or some way, I think it'll help us down the line. Just a suggestion, so. Councilman Goodson.
Yes, I'm really glad that this was brought up and that we're having this dialogue, and especially with the experts. So one of my big takeaways out of this line of communication is it would probably not be a very smart idea to bring this up at a community town hall and say, what do you think of this name? And you give out, or no surveys.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I just wanted to put that out there on Front Street for those that were already thinking. So we'll leave that to the experts in the room.
Councilman Thompson.
I actually have a motion, if I may.
Sure.
I would love to, I think we all agree that the idea is great. I would just love to have this just pushed out. I have Chief Tins and
Yes.
Chief Wines, along with
Alyssa.
to get together, and maybe not 195, but to, pinpoint some concerned
Target.
areas,
Yes,
priorities. And then come
absolutely.
back with, maybe 10.
Yeah.
This would really be beneficial to your departments and for public safety. Then if you brought those back, then I can guarantee you're going to get
I second
Pretty close to
that.
7 at least.
That's,
Any
that's a
question on
great
the motion?
idea.
It's been motioned and seconded.
When you were talking about the department heads, you was right in that conversation.
Oh, no.
Sure.
Yeah, whoever's
Not
needed.
automatic.
Whoever's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Sounds good.
Call
Thank-
roll.
Thank you, everyone.
You all.
Motion passes. All in favor?
All right. Thank you for the discussion. It's certainly a interesting discussion. And I can give you some more trivia names if you want.
No.
Item number 10, award the contract to Mark Thomas and Company Incorporated for preliminary engineering and environmental services for the Washington Avenue and Table Mountain Boulevard Complete Streets Project. Alyssa?
Yes. So this one, I believe most of the council is aware of the major corridor project that was proposed. We actually had hired Mark Thomas already in cycle 7 of the grant funding to draft that grant proposal. We did not receive the funding that round, but we did score a 91, which is very high. And so we have a really good shot at it for cycle 8. We had 3 proposals come in to do the preliminary engineering, which really consists of all the environmental documentation that needs to be done, as well as all of the design. We knew that the 2.5 million may have been a little bit short. I believe the grant application that Mark Thomas had originally drafted for preliminary engineering was going to be on the order of about 6 million. I don't know that it will cost that. And what we've asked Mark Thomas to do is identify what can they cover with the $2.5 million, and maybe we incorporate anything they can't complete into the next round of grant funding. So we did, in our discussions with them, well, let me back up. There were three proposals. And those 3 proposals were KPFF, Harrison Associates, and Mark Thomas. Mark Thomas's proposal came out very, very strong, but I think that they also had a little bit of a, an advantage, being that they were.
Knowledge of.
Yeah, but being that they had drafted the grant application, but still, that said, they still came in incredibly, incredibly strong. We did interview all 3 proposers, and based it off of their completeness of their response. So everything that we had asked for, what did they cover, their qualifications, previous experience with corridors like this, how they would approach the project, and how they would organize it to make sure it stayed on track. The scope of services that they would provide, so what could they actually cover with the budget, their schedule for work, making sure that they weren't going to be overly resource loaded or distracted with other projects, their local presence, and then their interview presentation and also their responses to our questions. So based on all of that criteria, Mark Thomas did still come out on top, and we think that they'll be a great partner. Contract amount would be for just over 2.4 million, which leaves a little bit of room in there for staff, for staff time, which we think will work out perfectly.
Good. And where's this grant coming from?
They're CMAQ and HIP funds, so I think BCAG has been very, very, very helpful.
Right, that's
Gotcha. Okay.
And these grant funds are specific for this project. That's how we were able to obtain them.
Right. Okay, any questions from council members?
Solid.
Do we have any public cards on this item?
No cards for this item.
I think it's a great start to a nice project. It's not going to get done tomorrow, but it's a good start. I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we sign the agreement number 3546 and award the project to Mark Thompson and Company Incorporated.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Motion passes. All in favor?
Back to public communication and hearing of any non-agenda item. Any cards for this later?
No cards for the non-agenda items.
Okay, future agenda items from council members. Number 1, any future agenda items? Hearing none. Correspondence? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Weber, excuse me.
Yeah, thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate
I
that.
missed that entirely.
I got a couple items that I would like to discuss real quick. And Councilmember Goodson and I were talking about this, and I emailed you, Mr. Mayor, as well. And so I'd like to pass these down, if you wouldn't mind passing those down. And this would be a, I don't want to get too deep into this because we've been going at it for a while, but this would be what is a, to deal with blight, abandoned vehicles, garbage, debris, whatnot. I know that Councilmember Goodson deals with quite a bit of that. I know Councilmember Johnstone does in her district as well, and so do I. But this would be essentially a rental registration program where you take, if you have 2 or more rentals in the city, then you would register it with the city. And then there would be language that could be adopted by the council per our municipal code to line up with our municipal code. And then that would help mitigate some of the blight issues, abandoned vehicles, inoperable vehicles, garbage, whatever, in both the front and backyards of the property by holding both the tenant and the owner of the property accountable. And I offered some references there for other cities that do this. So if it's the council's will, I would appreciate it if we read that and then maybe bring it back for further discussion later. And Councilmember Goodson.
I'll be the second on that.
Okay. And then the next one I have, it's similar. Can you pass those down too? This one I want to talk just a little bit more about this. This is this is also Councilmember Johnstone, myself, and Councilmember Goodson as well. We're discussing a cart retrieval program, which I've been talking about that for quite a while. Chief Wines and I have talked about it in depth. And so I don't want to go through the whole email, as you guys can see it, you can read it, but the big crux of what we've been dealing with, okay? And I'm going to pass this down, if you wouldn't mind taking a look at that little leaflet, or that little flip book I made. The big problem with cart retrieval is that a lot of the folks that are getting the carts are taking the carts and defacing them. In other words, taking identifying markings off of them. So the problem Chief has, and code enforcement, well, mainly Chief, because you're the only one with the authority to actually get a cart back. The problem is that when you don't have identifying markings on a cart, well, how do you establish who owns it? And so some of the individuals that are in possession of the cart are claiming they have ownership of the cart because they've defaced it. You can no longer identify the cart.
Yeah.
So I talked to the city attorney, and I told him that I wanted to, I told him I thought that we could work around that because it clearly, carts are not items that are for sale, right? So you can't establish ownership from the cart other than from the city, from the owner of the cart.
Terrible.
So what I did is I went around town and I took pictures of all of our carts except for, I missed CVS Pharmacy, but I took pictures of every retailer and their carts. And I talked to every one of the managers in every one of these stores. And I asked the question, have you ever, or would you ever sell a cart? And every one of them to a person said, absolutely not. In fact, we have cart theft is a huge deal. Rite Aid last year had, I think they had 29 carts. Last year, they have 4 right now due to theft. Okay, so I made this little flip book that could identify easily what carts are owned by who, because all of them look different. And then if we could establish that we know this cart is blue, then that belongs to this store. I've also talked to many of the managers of the stores that said they would agree that if there was a dispute over the ownership of the cart, and if we had it impounded, I guess, if you will, that they would also be willing to come down and identify the cart with their own eyes, okay? And so I would ask that the council consider having a discussion about this, building a cart retrieval program. We could put together these little flip books with laminated photos in it to identify exactly who owns what carts. And then there's qualifying features for each cart, height, cup holders, color. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that we could clearly say, no, even though it doesn't say Walmart, that's clearly a Walmart cart, right? So I brought that forward with Councilmember Goodson and Councilmember Johnstone. Would you like to comment on that?
No, I'm all for it. It's amazing how many we see. I see just alone in my district.
A lot.
And then in the mornings and Oro down.
Yep. A lot.
I have a question.
Sure,
ask? I
go
mean,
ahead.
I'm totally in support of this, but my question is, don't a lot of, I know Walmart does, I don't know about like Rite Aid or CVS or anything like that, but they have the security wheels or something
Oh, that
on
lock
these,
up.
that are supposed to lock up when you take them away, and they're still
Certain.
getting away with the thefts, huh?
Yeah, I found out today that Grocery Outlet has a brand-new fleet of carts, completely brand new, because they just changed ownership. So all their old carts are in the back, they got a brand-new fleet of carts, and there's actually a tracking device
Yeah.
underneath the cart, but it's actually like a peel and stick tracking device. So you can just take it off very easily. There's no locking mechanism on it. So part of this could be too, where we mandate our larger retails with the fleet of carts, say X amount of carts and larger, to say you got to have a locking mechanism on them. And I believe we have something like that already, or
Cards is pretty robust in there. I believe there are some provisions for locking mechanisms on
right.
cards.
Well, I know like Smart and Final, they, like, every time you use a cart, they
Right.
scan it. I mean,
Yep.
they like,
They
you
know
know, like,
do.
Who's taking it?
They know,
Yes,
so they
do.
know
They know who's taking it.
which
Yeah.
receipt belongs to which cart. you know?
Right.
So one of the issues that this is a major drain on our chiefs' resources every single day.
ML
Code
wheels.
enforcement is constantly, if you see that flatbed rolling around town, it's always got carts in the back of it, constantly. They're in our waterways, they're abandoned all over the place. And so incrementally, I think this is something that if we started implementing this would have favorable results over time. So I would like to, I'm gonna pass that down to Chief Wines too, because I want him to see the flip book. But Dave, do you have anything to add per our conversation that we had? Because you and I talked about that in great depth and detail.
No, only that we discussed it as a concept, so it's worth evaluating, but it does require further evaluation because you have to be able to definitively identify the provenance of the cart, right? How has possession come from, maybe a retailer or, what's the chain of that? Can you establish that with markings on the cart? Sometimes. Can you establish it with just, some of the indicia? There has to be a degree of certainty to the actual ownership of the cart for you to be able to enforce it. So sometimes you're going to be able to use a flip book and sometimes you may not. It just is going to depend on the circumstances.
You might
So
have
we'll
to have an
evaluate.
The
eyewitness.
world we live in is bizarre.
Does not make sense to me.
Is it possible to do an ordinance where carts can't be used on any sidewalk?
We would have to evaluate other options if you want to strengthen the ordinance and, meet with the chief to see what he feels is going to be enforceable without risk to the department or not,
Isn't that dog in the roadway?
of course. So we would evaluate any of these options for strengthening the ordinance probably before, we
Get
talk
there.
about
Yeah.
what those options are in a public meeting.
Great.
Again, this is a future agenda item, right?
Yeah.
So
Right,
that's- we'll
right,
do it in the
right.
future.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and last item, are we done with that item then?
Yeah.
Last item I would like to talk about is our Community Navigator program. It's come to my understanding that the Navigator cannot transport individuals in the Navigator vehicle, and I understand that because I get the risk factor with liability that would come from taking a person that is in need of services and then transporting them to a service destination. I get that. However, I would like to ask this council to consider and ask legal and everybody involved, and I know Belzer's not here, but I would like to get his input as well. But what it would look like to partner with our trusted community partners to have a liaison / outreach advocate that could go out and go do like plug and play services, for instance. Okay, so the Navigator's going around and identifying all these issues that need to be done, but then we've got trusted community partners that can send that liaison out too. And then once it's identified, it's like, okay, this person would be a great fit for this, right? And then do you want to do this? And then you have a representative there that can say, yeah, we're willing to help you get up off the streets and into the services that can help you, okay? So that's what I would like to discuss in the future, and then also what it would look like for him to have a laptop and a hotspot to do some case management, because this is a two-pronged approach, if I may say so, because not only is it a genuine and sincere outreach attempt to mitigate some of the issues we're dealing with the unhoused population. We genuinely, I think we have a compassion first outreach model, but we also want to make sure that we chronicle everything that we're doing. So that way, if somebody wants to say we're not doing it, then we have that as
Documentation.
yeah, we have documentation saying, no, we've reached out to these individuals, we made contact, we offered services, we did this, and they continually refuse to receive services. And so it's a win-win. It's a win for the city, it's a win for the individuals, and it's just good. So I would like to see if we could have that discussion about what it would look like for him to be able to have a team or the ability for people to go with him to do outreach.
Councilman Johnston, I guess.
a mobile service?
Yeah, I 100% support that idea. In fact, I was going to even bring that up, so you beat me to the punch. I believe that our navigator needs to have resources available to him. He can go out and do all that he can do to talk with the change-resistant people in our community, but when he's not able to physically get them to where they need to go because he can't put them in the vehicle to take because it's a liability issue, I mean, I think we can address, and maybe you can speak to this, but I mean, putting, a camera system in the car, or, putting, a laptop in the car with a camera or something to where he can be filmed, or what, I don't know what we can do to get past that liability issue. But I 100% support, if that can't happen, then we need to have some kind of a community partnership where when a person that's change resistant decides that they're ready to get help. For instance, I just met one in Palermo that is blind and
Star.
And yeah, Star. The other day, she wants help, but our community navigator cannot physically take her anywhere to get her help, and she cannot get help until she's at least diagnosed with something. But he can't take her, so we need to put something in place to help our community navigator be able to call on somebody that can come and physically take these people and take them where they need to go to become more used to the change that's going to need to happen in their lives for them to be successful community members. So I support you on that.
So to be clear, and I appreciate the comment for sure, I was specifically talking about outreach partners, but I agree with you. If there is a way to transport, like Star, for instance, then I would love to explore how we do that. I don't know if we can get across that finish line, though, or not. I think we could get across the finish line of transporting liaison outreach partners. Now, here's how I think we solve the problem of and please forgive me, I know this is just future agenda items, but how we solve the problem of transport. Then we partner with the Orville Rescue Mission, Haven of Hope on Wheels, Southside Community Center, Jordan Crossing, and then when the navigator can identify through that outreach opportunity with those other liaisons that are with them, they can say, you know what, you'd be a great fit for this one, and then make a phone call and then say, hey, we need to transport this person. That might be a clean workaround there, So that's just one option.
Yep. I'd like to can we call him a cab?
Well, before I list out your options, just off the cuff, I think that it warrants some discussion about what are the options and what are the tools and how, what are the limitations that we face with our insurance policies and with our safety issues associated with our staff, particularly the navigator, who would presumably be out there on their own. And so, we need to thoroughly review that, which I'm happy to do. So for some additional discussion about, what are the tools and options available so that we can educate that person in that job. That's something for maybe another meeting, of course, but it's good to have you bring it up so that we can bring it forward.
Okay. Any other future agenda items?
Yes, we have one card, Speaker Bill Spear.
Yeah, Bill Spear.
Yes, I wondered if we could bring back up the excess equipment.
Surplus? In the surplus? Okay.
That came up, I come up and I spoke and I said we could really use it. It would really be a big help and everybody agreed. And I thought, great. And then
Where did it go?
yeah. We've been working on the Clean Street Grant and real grateful for being able to participate and we get reimbursed for the wages. The city was supposed to supply all the equipment. We've been using our own truck the whole time. It was ending around August, and so it would be nice to be able to use some of the equipment to do the work we're doing. And I know you guys want to be fair about it and come up with a good plan. I know that you've given the Hope Center a couple trucks and a trailer. That if you could just give us a couple trucks and a trailer, put it on the agenda, get it through, we could put it to use right away. Right now, we're talking about fire safety. We got guys out every day, weed eating, hauling off garbage, and it would be, if we could expedite it any way possible, it would be a big help. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
I like that.
Okay. Okay.
I'll second that. I'll be the second on that
Okay.
one.
I'm looking around the room, nothing else? Guess what, folks? At 6:53, I'll adjourn this meeting to the next regular meeting of the Orville City Council will be held on May 20th, 2025 at 4 PM. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.